In order to really become an amazing leader, you actually have to get uncomfortable. You have to be able to tolerate discomfort with knowing yourself, as well as in working with the discomfort of others.
Got it.
All right?
Dr. Faith Cohen is an executive coach psychologist
who has spent over 30,000 hours in one-on-one sessions to transform people become high-performing leaders.
The difference between the threat response and the resilience response really lies in areas of the brain, but we like to talk about them in terms of groupings because our brains are so complex.
Yours is.
Yours
Mine's
is
pretty
too.
simple.
These are the trauma release techniques. Peter Levine studied the predator-prey behavior in the wild, and he understood that prey, they don't go into panic attacks after they've survived being eaten. They live their lives. They go on. They do something very specific that we humans in our modern life don't do.
Really?
We actually have to be willing to be uncomfortable. And that is so counterintuitive to how we're made up.
Totally.
This is not how our nervous systems are wired.
Yeah.
So how do we do that?
Yeah.
You learned this, Healey.
Yeah.
What did you learn?
Faith, I'm so insanely excited you're here. Faith, you're one of the top executive coaches on the planet. You're behind incredible successes like Harry's, Athletic Greens, famously behind AG1, venture firms like IVP, Warby Parker. And you have this incredible thing you do, which is you focus on understanding the neuropsychology of our brains, and specifically how that can affect executives, leaders, founders in their everyday. So if you're up for it, one thing I just wanted to let's just start with some foundational knowledge on this stuff, because I don't know a lot about this. I don't know about a lot of things. Ask my wife. Is what is the difference between the threat response and the resilience response? What are those things? Why does it matter? Let's just start there.
Yeah, good question. So the difference between the threat response and the resilience response really lies in areas of the brain. And we don't like to say specific structures, but we like to talk about them in terms of groupings. Okay. Because our brains are so complex. It's not just like...
Yours is.
Yours
Mine's
is
pretty
too.
Simple.
So we like to talk about them in terms of groupings and structures, right? So the threat response is governed really by this area called the limbic system. And our ability to be resilient has to do with how we modulate or moderate that part of our brain, and how our brain actually does that either on its own or through ways in which environmentally, and I'll get into this, how that can also impact or affect our limbic system. So it would be great, Healey. Would you like to see a picture of this part of your brain?
I would love to.
Okay.
And as you're pulling it up, the reason I care about this so much is, as a founder, it can feel like the stakes is very high. I think especially early on, the highs and lows can be intra-hour, intraday, and eventually, hopefully over time, they start to even out. But so many times, I think it's very easy as a founder to find yourself in that fight or flight mode.
Absolutely.
And so I'm really excited to hear about not just why these things happen neuropsychologically.
Yes, good job.
Okay, excellent.
Yes.
What can I say?
Yes.
I can adjective anything. No, it's an adverb, whatever.
It's beautiful.
But also what tactics are to get through it. So let's do it. Let's look at some sweet graphics.
Okay. So Healey.
Yes.
Can you see this?
I can see a brain.
Yes. This is our
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's cool.
It's called the 3D Brain app, which is really fun. We geek out on this. Cool. This is the areas of the brain that are made up of our limbic system.
Got it.
Right? And I think what's really important here are two parts. The blue part, that tiny little blue dot that you see, that's called the amygdala.
Okay.
And affectionately in our family, we call it the amygdala.
I will remember that.
And we will remember it. And we affectionately refer to it as Amy.
Amy, that's great.
Sometimes. And I want to just add a little fun fact that in Hebrew, the word for large or big is gadol.
Oh.
So this is Gadala. And what's fun to me about this is that the amygdala, although it's small, it has a very big reaction and like really runs the show.
Small and mighty.
Small and very mighty.
Okay.
And the thing with the amygdala is that, as you were just talking about in your life, in terms of being a founder, it is the part of the brain that receives and modulates and is the hired gun for anything having to do with danger, right? So it is what produces fear and anxiety.
Oh.
The thing about the amygdala, Healey, is we enter into this world as little babies and infants trusting, non-fearful. And we learn fear through the course of our life. Because, okay, so the amygdala is actually learning on its own fear to keep us safe and alive. So I want you to think about this. We can't just passively unlearn to be scared or unlearn a fear. We have to actually do something actively to unlearn that or to extinguish that. We can't just sit around and say, I don't want to be scared of spiders anymore.
I'm not scared of heights anymore.
I'm not scared of heights anymore. That's not how it works. Okay. And I want to talk about some other important things that have to do with what the amygdala controls. You know, I'm sure you've heard about the sympathetic and the parasympathetic nervous system, right? The sympathetic nervous system is very much controlled by the amygdala. Digestion, heart rate, all those sorts of things.
Yeah.
The parasympathetic is inhibiting those things, right? So they cannot be turned on at the same time. You cannot have the parasympathetic and the sympathetic turned on together.
Oh, interesting.
Right. So if you can do some things that can turn on the parasympathetic nervous system, you can sort of short circuit your sympathetic nervous system and or the amygdala from doing its thing.
So you can short circuit fear, or you can start to...
You can do something somatically.
Okay.
To get the system to turn on that parasympathetic.
Okay.
That would help get the sympathetic, which is what the amygdala is controlling, if you will.
Got it.
To turn off. That might give you enough time.
How do you turn off Big Amy?
We turn off
That's
Big Amy.
Question. How do you turn off Big Amy?
When we want to.
Yeah, right? Yeah.
Taking what you're going to hear a lot of the stuff that you've probably read in pop psychology. If you can take deep breaths.
Yes.
What do you notice that happens when you do that?
You calm down. You like.
What happens to your mind?
I feel like you also re-enter your body a little bit. You're like, oh, this is where I am. I just read that book Breathe by James Nestor.
Yes.
So good.
Yeah. So in part, when you're doing that, you are getting the sympathetic system to calm. You're slowing your heart rate, right? You are allowing for the space to perhaps do something else to get your frontal cortex to turn on.
There's by the way, I was talking to this elite special forces person, and they were saying they call it box breathing. Box breathing. Yeah, so what's like a, okay, I'm listening and I want to know specifically when I'm going to go, okay, something's happening, Big Amy's taking over, I'm starting to sweat or feel uncomfortable, whatever it is. Specifically, what is the breathing technique?
That particular technique is when you take pauses at the top and the bottom of a breath. So you would start with an in-breath, pause, 1, 2, 3, take an out-breath, same rate as your in-breath, pause, 1, 2,
Feels
3.
Nice. God,
right?
You're putting me to sleep.
So that's a box breath.
Yeah, okay. That's great.
The thing is, and you might know this, sometimes when we're really scared, breathing is like the hardest thing to do.
Yeah, totally.
And sometimes for some people, and this is very individual, just noticing your breath can make it worse. Like you feel like you can't breathe.
Oh, like,
right?
It's like, what's that thing when you're scuba diving and you start to like hyperventilate?
Hyperventilate. Yeah. Or you just can't do it very well.
Yeah.
Right. So it might be some other things. There are some evolutionarily older things that stimulate older parts of our nervous system that are kind of funky and weird and wild that I can tell you about.
Yeah.
If you're home alone and you're really stressed out, one thing that you can do is you can grab a huge bowl of water and you put a ton of ice in there. And you dunk your head in the water, face first.
Okay.
Till your area right here is being in the water.
Okay.
Right?
Before the ears.
Kind of before the ears.
Okay.
Yeah, you don't want to get your ears
Cold ears
in.
are rough. Yeah.
And you hold your breath there for as long as you can. And that ice water turns on the parasympathetic nervous system.
Really?
And it brings us.
That's such a wild hack.
It's a wild hack.
Whoa.
Yeah. Of course, you're not going to do that like in the boardroom.
Yeah, right? Yeah. Although it would be pretty funny.
It would be a little weird.
So you need a moment to collect. You're at home.
Yeah.
A place where it's a
yeah.
bowl of ice water.
Bowl
put
of
it
ice
up to
water.
Here, hold your breath.
Right. And the reason is that it's turning on the parasympathetic, but it's also reminiscent of our mammalian, or our being in the water, like way evolutionary back, right?
God, that's so interesting.
It's crazy. Okay. So that's not necessarily going to take away all of the racing thoughts and the actual things that got you into that stressful place in the moment.
Yeah.
This is really for like extreme when you're having panic attacks, like when people are really in a severe state of fear.
Really?
But it will slow things down enough that you could then employ other techniques. What would be another? Okay.
Okay. Yeah. What are these?
So what would be
This is
some
amazing.
other?
Yeah.
What would be some other techniques? If we can visualize things that, I hate to use this word, but can either, I don't like the word safety so much because everyone has a different response to that word. But if we can visualize things that bring us experience actually emotionally feelings of well-being or neutrality, and we can bring that to mind.
Visualizing it.
As well as adding breathing in at the same time. Right? So if you've got a smell, smells are really strong. So if you've got lavender or, forest smell in a bottle, those that remind you of something that really brings sensory input of well-being. That is a way to slow down and to get the parasympathetic somewhat turned on, right? For you to be able to do something else, which would be the thinking, the strategizing,
engaging the front of your brain.
It's
so funny you say that because like everyone in life, you have these hard moments and things just feel impossible or relentless or whatever. And in my version of that, now that you say it, I realize I will do this is I'll just really hone in on my family at home and specifically my kids, Theo and Lily. And when I think about them, I get such joy that it kind of like will disrupt whatever weird energy I was going in the negative way.
Exactly. And I just want to add something else.
Yeah.
When we are in fear and when the amygdala is stimulated, it has a whole bunch of aspects that it's producing behaviorally in our bodies, which you're going to start noticing. It will make us more attuned and stimulated to emotional facial expressions of others.
If Big Amy's engaged? Oh.
However, it's inaccurate. It's interpreting.
So you read into it all.
We read, so it actually produces inaccurate.
You start looking for drama when it doesn't exist.
Correct.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. The amygdala is the precursor to aggression. So it produces more aggression in us. We will feel more aggressive, right? It also will make us perseverate. Do you know that word, perseverate?
Perseverate? No.
Yeah, perseverate. A habituated pattern. So we might start engaging in something that we know is not useful, but it's habit, and so we'll do it anyways.
What's an example of that? Like biting your nails?
Smoking, pacing, perseverate. Behaviors that that repeat.
So these are, and by the way, as we're going through this, so this is like if I notice myself experiencing these things, I know Big Amy is grabbing the reins and I now have to counterbalance.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Have you ever called her Big Amy before?
Oh, all the time at home.
Oh, okay.
That's what I said to my kids, my family. She doesn't, I don't think she minds. It's our nickname.
Gosh,
yes.
that's so interesting.
Yeah. So the amygdala gets us to engage in ways that in our modern world we find not that helpful or useful. But if we think about how it's trying to protect us, automatic behaviors that can just get us to react
so
and
interesting.
respond is important for us
Yeah.
to stay alive. So again, I want to have some reverence towards this part of our body, that it's not all bad.
Yeah.
We don't want to be thinking about
Yeah,
this
it's kept
part.
us alive, it turns out.
It has, and,
Yeah.
and it's there to protect us.
Yeah.
Right? So we
Yeah.
want to have some reverence towards this
Yeah,
part.
totally.
Right?
Yeah. We love Big Amy.
We do. We do love Big Amy. And so, part of what we need to do is stop and slow down. Like perhaps maybe that funny, quirky smile that you got from your colleague wasn't really talking behind your back,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
It could have been that you were misperceiving, right?
That's good. That's really interesting.
It could be that pacing isn't really going to help you. It just might make you more anxious.
So when you notice Big Amy taking over, things you can do, you can breathe. You can, in an extreme scenario, put your face into a bucket of cold water, but not a bucket, like a bowl. You know what I mean?
Bowl.
Up to the ears. You can visualize things that will bring you to either comfort or some sort of like
Neutrality. Well-being.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. What else is on the list? Or are those the big three?
No, there's others.
Okay.
There's many, 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 many others.
It's great. What a toolkit.
Yeah. If you get your heart rate up through exercise, I mean like really get your heart rate up, jumping jacks or jumping rope or a sprint, it's impossible then this is kind of counterintuitive.
Yeah.
You can't go into a highly anxious response when you're doing that.
Gosh, I had to jump in because this is so interesting, by the way. It's like, how we don't have this conversation before is also a question.
I mean, you're probably noticing some things that you do that work.
Yeah,
right?
I was in the thick of some like really intense stuff. And for whatever reason, I noticed that if I worked out that morning, I would be less anxious. But if I didn't work out in the morning, it was like this pain in my chest.
Yes. Yeah.
It's that.
It is. It is in part that. Yeah. So the other thing that's going to sound a little strange, which can be bad if not directed in the right way, is part of what the amygdala does as well is that it does preempt aggression. And when there is threat to a system, we will see in primates and animals as well as humans, we will see an increase in displaced aggression. Do you know what that means when I say displaced aggression?
I have an idea, but
So as opposed to aggressing on the thing that's perpetrating stress on you,
totally. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
You will perpetrate aggression on someone or something else that's weaker than you, that's more vulnerable than you,
Yeah.
right? So example of this would be in economic downturns. We know this nationally. We have national data on this. We will see an increase in childhood and spousal abuse, right? That's displaced aggression. Obviously, you can't aggress against an economic system, but you can aggress against something more vulnerable that's closer to you. And we as humans will do that. And we have the data, right? However, we do have these things called rage rooms now. Right?
Yeah.
And it can be very relieving because this is the weirdest thing. When we aggress, we actually will turn off the amygdala response.
Oh, interesting. So your body actually, when you
So we
release
will
aggression, is a
literally-
tool to remove it.
Yeah.
So the key is, if you're feeling it, don't displace it.
Don't displace it, but could you direct it?
Is working out a version of that?
Could be, right? It depends on how you're working out. Like
Yeah.
if you're kickboxing
Yeah.
and you're actually kicking and, or punching
Yeah.
the bag,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Is this why people, I saw one of my, this, but my wife is a sociocultural anthropologist.
Yes.
And she showed me this photo once, which was so funny. It was in a men's bathroom, and someone had clearly punched a hole in the wall. Someone framed it and put fragile masculinity. which I thought was so funny. But like, is that why people punch walls and stuff? Is it a version of it?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I do want to say, of course, there is
to calm yourself down. Like, I need to calm down.
Well, because I don't know, have you
wall.
ever allowed yourself to either throw stones in a river or when you're really angry?
I call them rage push-ups.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's the best thing I'll do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Side benefit, you get yoked.
You do. Right. I do want to say this too. Definitely there is a higher incidence of that displaced aggression in people who just tend to be more aggressive. Mm-hmm. Okay. So you're going to see more of that in people who are more aggressive. Not everybody will do that.
Yeah.
And it doesn't necessarily mean that men are more aggressive than women per se.
Yeah.
We can all, as the human species, we can aggress.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So gear shift for a second.
Yeah.
So first of all, this is like, I just think about the impact, often you think of mind body as a separate thing. Mm-hmm. Turns out your mind is part of your body.
100%. I want to even say something about that.
Please.
Can I talk a little more?
Yeah.
There's other techniques that can help us.
Okay.
And this is where you really need the work of a coach or a clinician. But these are the trauma release techniques. And I'm going to go into this a little.
Okay.
But they're components of the trauma release techniques. The originals are somatic experiencing that was developed by Peter Levine, and EMDR, which stands for eye movement desensitization reprocessing, that was developed by Francine Shapiro.
Okay.
Those two techniques came out around the same time. Peter Levine studied the predator-prey behavior in the wild, and he understood that prey, they don't go into panic attacks after they've survived being eaten.
Huh.
They don't do that. Have you ever noticed that prey, they live their lives. They go on.
Yeah, I guess I haven't really thought about it.
They get attacked.
Yeah.
They
survive.
They survive.
Keep going.
And they go on.
Yeah.
They do something very specific that we humans in our modern life don't do. And
what's that?
If you watch Peter Levine's videos, he has lots of videos from his research way back in the day. They do this shake. You will see animals do this this reflexive shake thing that they do.
Wow.
And it's a reset or a release of the movement that was happening, either the run from their chase, that they're literally moving through their muscles of their body, because this is also held in our muscle memory.
Wow.
Right? So he developed this whole technique that includes reflexive response. It's involuntary response in which our muscles are releasing some of the energy, if you will.
Wow.
From the experience that was dangerous.
So let's say I had, as an example, not that this ever happens to me, like a really rough board meeting. And you're like, that didn't go out. If you want to keep cruising, you just literally shake it off.
Yes, but you want to do it in a particular way in which you're almost like wanting to wait and see what parts of your body wants to move.
Oh, interesting.
Versus you
thinking that you just
you just do this thing.
Interesting. So your body will literally tell you if you listen what to shake. Gosh, that's so interesting.
Yeah. So that's one trauma release technique known as somatic experiencing.
Whoa.
Francine Shapiro, she came upon this technique happenstance. She just so happened to notice as she was working with her clients that if the eyes were moving back and forth, and she incorporated all these other things, that people who were experiencing PTSD actually were able also to release those memories, those experiences.
Really?
This whole technique got developed. Eye going back and forth. We found out later that it has to do with the bilateral stimulation of our brains. So what does that mean? That's a big thing that I just said.
Yeah.
Through lots of research that was done on monks meditating, we learned that when they're in their meditative states, there is a lot of blood flow and information flow that goes across the corpus callosum. Do you know where that?
Isn't that a town in Texas?
Could be a town in Texas.
That's a good Corpus Christi joke.
Right.
In case for you viewers at home.
That's right. But it's also the band of fibers that connects the right and the left hemisphere. So we have this band of fibers that connects those two hemispheres. And it allows information to flow across our hemispheres. When we're experienced meditators, really experienced meditators, who generally speaking don't get as reactive.
Yeah.
Right? We know this from lots of research. They tend to have more information flow and more blood flow going across that band of fibers. So
wow.
what we've engineered later, which came from Francine Shapiro, this is what we learned later, as well as a newer person on the block that came around in the early 2000s, David Grand, and his trauma release technique called brain spotting.
Yeah.
If we can produce the bilateral stimulation of our brain, whether that be through looking back and forth, eye movements, whether that's engineered music, which we have now, that stimulates, or whether that's what I call the butterfly hug. By the way, this is a great other
to yourself.
Great other technique because you're providing bilateral stim. But you can't be doing that thinking of the scary thing. You have to be incorporating neutral visualizations or well-being.
Got it.
So those sorts of things, all right? And then there's a whole technique that goes on with this. But
gosh, that's so interesting.
What we learned from some of our research is this is where neuroplasticity comes in, okay? That we can actually, through giving a new context to an old memory or experience, we can create a different feeling state of that old memory. When we're doing that, we're literally changing protein molecules through our visualizations, through the help of the bilateral stim, because basically what we're doing when we provide that stim is we're manually producing what a meditator has achieved in many, many, many years.
Wow, that's so interesting.
And when we do that, it allows for the frontal cortex to actually turn on.
Wow.
Right? And when that happens, then you're
back in business.
Well, it can talk to the Amy. It can talk to the amygdala. And it can say, hey, this thing happened. This was really crappy and awful. But right now in my present moment, I'm safe or I'm fine or it's not happening anymore. Right?
Okay. So this is, by the way, like I'm taking notes because I'm like, I need to know this stuff. So you've given this really wonderful set of it's basically when you identify that you are in a threat response, things you can do somatically, physically, visually, breathing to get you to a place where you can start to focus on how to be resilient. Let's talk about
or how to bring your frontal cortex online.
Yeah, bring it online. Get back into the game. Let's talk about, going to the workspace. You are executive, you're a manager, you're a leader, you're a board member, you're an investor, you're a CEO. There's like interesting, I think, things that can produce threat responses.
Yes.
Perhaps even accidentally.
Correct.
And so what I want to talk about is one, like, what are some of those examples? Let's just go through them because I think that'd be really helpful for folks. Yep. And then the subtext is like, try not to do those things because then the people in the room are not going to be thinking straight. Let's just start there. Like,
I want to give you some founder stories.
Yeah, let's do it. 1,000%. Yeah.
Okay. I'm thinking of one in particular, and I think this happens a bit, where a board might want to change the role of the founder.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yep.
Right. So I'm thinking of a story, an in particular story in which this happened.
Okay.
And for this founder, he remembers, everything I just said is now going to come to light.
Yeah.
He remembers the experience like it was crystal clear. It was in the room of which it happened with this was pre-COVID, so it was in person. And he was in a fight response as well as a dissociative response. I mean, he was angry and he was
I don't want to be
also
experiencing this.
I don't want to be experiencing this
Yeah.
at the same time.
Yeah.
It wasn't really that, in actuality, that a lot of control was taken from him, but his perception
It was this feeling of it.
was the feeling of lack of control and unpredictability. And that's exactly what produces stress. What is the definition of stress? When we don't feel like we have control and we don't believe that the situation we're in is predictable or we can't predict, right? So he's having all the classic responses.
All the stuff. Yeah.
And he could not communicate. Like, now let's talk about...
He'd been hit dumbstruck almost.
He was dumbstruck.
Yeah.
Let's talk about weeks down the road. Of course, I started working with him as his coach.
Yeah.
And he would say things like, I can't get over... He would perseverate. I can't stop thinking about this.
Yeah.
I can't get over this. I'm furious. I have no one to, express this immense amount of anger that I'm experiencing. I freeze. I can't talk to them. I don't believe I can talk to them. I can't present now. Then he couldn't even
Complete
produce,
the rest of the...
Well, he couldn't produce great communication and presentations in the subsequent board meetings.
Oh, wow. Oh, this is a longitudinal thing. It really got to him.
It really got to him.
Wow.
Yeah, it really, really, really got to him.
What role was this person in? And when...
I mean, he...
Is it like you're no longer CEO or like...
No, he was... No. He was never wanting to be CEO. He was founder. He was original founder. He was brains behind the...
Okay.
Right? And they wanted him to be in CTO role, but he was incredibly connected and committed to the product.
Oh, I see.
He wanted to be CPO.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Got
he
it.
didn't want this CTO title.
Got
it. And he believed that this was sort of like an affront, if you will.
Yeah, totally.
It wasn't really, but doesn't matter. That's what he thought.
I understand.
So through lots of work together, we were able to get him from that full amygdala hijack to beautiful presentations to the board where they were completely rallying behind him, and he was back in the seat, right? Back in the seat.
Gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it took a number of these things that I'm talking about.
Well, it's hard. It's like you're under
right?
assault. I mean, it's hard to produce your best work, for all the reasons we talked about.
For all the reasons we've talked about. So it's complicated, Healey. It's not, you often need, by the way, you do often need other in order, one, to be able to do some of these things with you.
Yeah.
Because we are social creatures, and through our connection with each other, when an environment is produced in such a way that makes us feel safer, we will actually remember that thing and change the quality and the content of that long-term. We're not really changing the content of the long-term memory, but we're changing the quality of it. And so from that, we will see, from these techniques that I just showed you, increase cellular regeneration in the hippocampus.
Well,
when we're under chronic stress, our cells in our hippocampus, we actually will show degeneration and shrinkage.
Wow.
From the work that I'm describing.
That kind of makes sense. I mean,
it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. We will actually see cellular growth. And so our
fountain of youth.
Right. That's an example of positive neuroplasticity. Okay.
So
neuroplasticity, by the way, I need to say this, can go in either positive or negative direction, right? So our brains can, as I said earlier, can learn fear and can generalize that. We can create more neuroplasticity in the negative valence. Our brains don't care if it's positive or negative in terms of how we interpret it. It can go either way.
Interesting.
If we don't do things correctly, this is why I'm like giving you lots of pause. You don't want to be doing this on your own necessarily. You can make matters worse.
Yeah.
Right? As opposed to better.
That's really interesting.
Okay.
You said a new normal of okay, I don't want to do. Okay, so here's something I think a lot of anyone giving feedback can run into. So on one hand, you don't want to push someone into a place where they feel like they're backed into a corner or it's fight or flight or whatever it is. So you don't want to get them to that place because you know it's going to render them, it's not just going to cause pain, which no one wants to inflict on other people.
Right.
Most people don't, unless you're a little psycho.
Yeah.
But like, they probably are going to be inhibited from doing their best work. But at the same time, sometimes you have to give really direct feedback. And a thing that I know you and I have talked about in the past is how clarity is kindness. And in fact, if you dance around giving negative news, it is net worse for everybody down the road. And it probably is going to be pretty hard for your company or your team to be successful.
Yes.
So how do you balance that? Like, how do you not push someone to the place where they're in flight or fight or freeze, but you still have to give them bad news?
Right. Good question. There are frameworks and structures for which we do this, right?
Yes.
And there is really good reason for why we have those frameworks and structures. Okay. So what did I say about stress? What was one of the first things you heard me say about what is stress? Stress is the lack of control and the inability to predict. Okay. So I've talked to you about a framework called CUBE that was developed in the firm that I also work from, a managing partner of, senior partner of Newberg Gore. And Jason Gore developed this framework. It comes from the negotiation literature, but it also comes from all the nonviolent communication literature. And what is the nonviolent communication literature doing? It is creating the context to have the best possible solution for hard and challenging. When we say hard and challenging, we mean you're in a state of fight, flight, or freeze. Your hands are sweating. Conversations. Okay.
Okay.
That's what we mean when we say challenging conversations.
Yes.
And what's the first thing that we do? We create the context.
Okay, so this is CUBE. This is the C of CUBE.
This is the C of CUBE. And what is creating the context all about? It is putting into awareness for the person in front of you, in an email, in a phone call, preferably before you sit down and talk, what exactly this conversation is going to be about.
Got it.
Why are we doing that? So that not only you are in the know, usually if you're the one giving feedback, you know what the conversation is about. Right. So you wouldn't want to have this conversation and put your opponent in surprise.
Is that because does surprise induce the kind of fear, like Big Amy comes into effect?
Full.
Oh, wow.
Right? Because we're talking about challenging conversations that produce the kind of sweat response that makes your other that you're talking to feel like they're in danger.
Gosh. Okay. So CUBE,
so
create
absolutely
context.
Your amygdala is the person who's in front of you is absolutely going to go into a state, most likely, of fight, flight, or freeze.
Got it.
And you've got to know that when you go in.
Right.
So that you can do all the things possible to help regulate them. You yourself, as the CEO, it's your responsibility to actually in the room be regulating their nervous system.
Whoa.
Which means, what does that mean about you?
Take their head, you put it in a bowl of ice.
Yeah, exactly. But what are you going to be doing with your nervous system? If you're scared
you have to keep calm too.
That's right.
Yeah.
So you have to regulate your own nervous system.
Got it. Put your oxygen mask on first.
Exactly.
Yep.
Right. So creating control and predictability for your partner that you're having this conversation with is step number one.
That's great.
Right. So you're going to lay out, hey, I want to have a conversation with you. This is what it's about. And I'd like to do it at this time, at this day. Predictable.
That's great.
Everybody knows.
Okay.
Versus, what could you imagine you've seen mistakes done here?
Yeah, someone feels sandbagged.
Right. How's that done?
No heads up. You say the thing, and then of course the person now is Big Amy is sitting at the table.
Right.
That person's kind of there.
Have you ever heard your colleagues say, "Hey, I'd like to have. I'm going to have this conversation over drinks, or at a restaurant, or at a coffee shop."
Yes.
Could you imagine what that might be like for the other?
You just have no idea. Yeah, it's like every now and then I'll get a text from like my CFO or my VP of sales. Hey, Jeff, 5 minutes. Or like my co-founder Blake,
Right.
he's like, hey, man, we talk for 5 minutes. And I'm like, what is it? What's the problem? He's like, dude, we're cool. I just wanted to talk about, I'm like, don't do that to me.
Right.
Totally.
Right. But at a coffee shop
Yeah.
or at a public place, then you've got the added experience of others watching you.
Oh, that's even worse.
Which
yeah, that's
is
miserable.
Miserable.
Okay.
right?
So CUBE. So
So-
CUBE, the C is create context, premium. Okay, what's the
Right.
U?
Imagine at this point in you do have feedback to give, but it's best if you can understand their world
Yeah,
first.
great.
Why would you want to understand their world first versus you going off and having them understand you? Why would we do that?
I mean, because if you don't know where they're coming from, they're not going to hear what you're saying. It has to be in service of what they want, is kind of the punchline.
In part as well, if you get curious about their world, they will have more likelihood to feel neutrality.
Interesting.
And-
Why is that? Because you feel like you have genuine appreciation,
It has to be
concern for them?
authentic, by the way. It can't be like you're asking inauthentic questions. It has to be around genuine curiosity.
Okay.
And you've got to show signs that you're actually listening to them.
Yep.
You can't be interjecting and interrupting or coming up with your counterpoint as they're talking, because then they're going to sense that you're not really listening.
Yeah. Right.
And they're going to read your eyes.
Yep.
What does that do? Well, how does it feel when someone's listening to you?
Feels great.
Why?
You feel important. Every human wants to feel important. Turns out.
Right?
Yeah.
So there's
Yeah.
something about it that is allowing a sense of an environment of a little more trust and safety,
Totally.
right?
Totally.
So if you start with that, they'll have more of an ability to
I love
also
that.
listen to you.
Got it.
Right?
Got it. Got it.
And they know what the conversation's about. If you're saying, I
Yeah, you've
want
already
to give
given
you,
the context.
Right. So they have a
great.
chance to be able to talk and you're listening.
Okay.
Then you can give them the hard feedback and they will have more likelihood to have self-regulated,
Yep.
to be prepared. They're predicting what's going on.
Yep.
They're not as stressed.
That's great. Okay. So
Right?
create context C. U is understand the world. What's B?
Everyone loves B. That's the easiest part, which is brainstorming
Okay.
possible solutions,
Got it.
right? In giving feedback, there may be circumstances where there are no brainstorms. Like, I'm sorry, this is it. And
Yeah.
I have to ask you to go.
Yep.
This is the firing conversation.
Yeah.
Right?
Hmm.
We can make some brainstorm around the story or the narrative that you're going to tell that you will have control over.
Yeah. Yep. 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 This is a resignation, not a
Yeah,
firing,
yeah.
or whatever. Yeah.
But oftentimes, most feedback is tactical. It's around correcting things, and this is the opportunity for the CEO to learn something that they may not. There might be some areas that they're just completely unaware, and this is an opportunity for creative problem solving.
Yep.
And it's
Yep.
fun. This is usually the fun part.
Yeah.
We're getting to
Yeah.
solutions.
Yeah. We're trying to
here.
solve it together.
Yeah.
Nice.
Common mistakes that you see many people making is trying to get to brainstorming before you've done C and U.
Yeah. Yeah.
Bad mistake.
Yeah. That's it. Yeah.
Because you're
Don't rush
not
it.
going to actually get to the best solutions if you don't understand each other.
Yep.
Right?
Yep. Yep. Okay. Awesome. So create context, understand the world, brainstorm solutions, and then what's the E on Q?
Yeah. A lot of people tend to forget this part or don't do this part. And then everything you've done previously is all for naught. That is end with commitments.
Yeah.
And not only are we ending with some next action steps, and that could just be we're going to check in about our relationship and whether or not we're feeling like we're trusting each other.
Yep.
But you actually have to follow up
Yep.
and monitor.
Yeah. Accountability.
Yeah. Meaning it might be you're following up the next week and the next 2 weeks and then the next month,
That's great.
right?
That's great.
That's the E. Ending
Okay.
with commitments and actually
That is
following
so
up.
helpful. That is
Yeah.
so helpful.
Right.
So, okay. So let's we're talking about, that was great because you want to give feedback to someone without throwing them into like the threat mindset because you know that doesn't work. So I think that there's other dynamics that take place definitely at early stage startups, but probably at every company. But one of the things I know we've talked about in the past is, and this is kind of a crass way of saying it, but is most startups die from suicide, not homicide. Their competitor doesn't take them out. They have some sort of dysfunction. And I think you, as you're kind of preparing for this, you're saying that 65% of startups fail due to co-founder issues. And so I guess,
or due to team.
Or due to team,
It's
yeah.
really due to team.
And I imagine it's because people really, really care. So what are some of the things, how do I say this? Like, I'm a co-founder. I really don't want that to happen.
Right?
How do I make sure that doesn't happen?
Right. There are so many things, right? This is getting off of a little bit of our, what's going on neurophysiologically, but the basis, Patrick Lencioni has written a beautiful book. I'm sure so many people have read it, called The Five Dysfunctions of a Team.
Yeah, great book.
What's at the base? The base is trust.
Yeah, trust.
Okay.
Yep.
And what is trust creating? And then we can come back to some of the neurophysiology behind this. Trust is creating a sense of safety, which is the opposite of the stress response, right? It's when we're safe, the amygdala and the limbic system, generally speaking, the amygdala is quiet.
Yeah.
It's not firing.
Got it.
Things that we can do to create, there's a lot of things that we can do to create accountable teams.
Yeah.
But that base that we have to start with is creating a sense of trust. And trust, as we all know, is earned and not just given.
Yes.
Right? So I can just ask you this question. What are the relationships that you're in that have high yield of trust? And what are some of the things that you notice that are a part of that relationship?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like if you could name it, like what would that be?
Well, the obvious answer is Rachel, my wife. That's the first. One of the things we commit to, for example, is no surprises.
Boom.
Which is a great one.
Predictability.
Yeah.
Yes.
Which is like, hey, look, if something goes wrong, I'm going to tell you soon, and I'm not going to try to hide. I think, by the way, I just have to say this: the best executives I've ever worked with, they say, hey, we have a problem. I'm letting you know right now, or even better, hey, there's a chance this is going to happen.
Yes.
So I wanted to get ahead of it and let you know.
See you around the corner.
And here's the things I'm going to try to mitigate, but just, I'm going to touch base at this point and this point, and like, here's how we're going to know. Right. Because exactly as you said, right? God, it's like the whole world's making sense now, Faith, thanks to you. Is when you get surprised, it induces stress. And now you're freaked, and now you're not going to threat response.
And I want to say this too, is that stress is also not bad.
Yes.
Right.
But short bouts of it turns out.
Yes. But there's optimal levels of stress, right? And that is different for each individual.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
That's interesting. How do you figure out your optimal level of stress as an individual?
You kind of know it. It's that place in which you feel challenged.
Yeah.
And you are in a context where the environment is somewhat safe for you to take risk.
So you maintain motivation.
Yeah. You're challenged.
Yeah.
You're maintaining motivation. You're enjoying a bit about the not knowing. Because if we knew everything and everything was in control and predictable, we would be frickin' bored.
Totally.
Right?
Totally.
That would be not enough stress.
Yeah.
If we have too much stress, like I talked about with, way back with the founder, right? Or with the economy and just not knowing where our food is going to come from next.
Yeah.
That's way too much stress.
Right.
It's the inverted U. I'm sure you've seen this graph of the inverted U, the optimal levels of stress. You want it in that middle point.
Okay.
Where there is enough challenge that you're somewhat unsure, and it's like
the efficient frontier of stress.
Exactly.
What is your efficient frontier of stress? That's an interesting question.
There's some level of lack of control.
Yeah.
And there's some level of unpredictability.
Yeah.
Okay. And you get this in chess games.
Yeah.
Really hard chess games.
Yeah. Yeah.
How about when we go to we pay for it? We go to the amusement park and we ride the roller coaster.
Even movies sometimes,
Movies.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
As well as all of you founders out there, as well as VCs, what are VCs doing?
Right.
This is safe, risky bets.
Yep.
Safe to a degree, right?
Yep.
Like we've put ourselves in these situations.
Yep.
And we want them.
So I'm thinking about this, and I love the kind of safety versus stress and how it's kind of these two different things, and also knowing where your own efficient frontier of stress is. So how do you make sure in these examples you don't stress people out? And I think, one thing that is a very common word right now is knowing someone's triggers. Like, what are the things where, like, for whatever reason, you even indicate that thing and it's going to blow it out? Like, what are things, get to know someone's triggers? That's an example. What are other things?
Yeah, I mean, I think we can talk about, generally speaking, you hit on a good one, that as much as possible, if you can help your team see around corners and call it out, right? Fantastic. Second to that is the ability to connect and get to know someone.
Yep.
Why is that? Let's just talk about the counters. I'm sure Brene Brown comes to mind here, and you've heard of Brene Brown?
No.
Okay. Brene Brown is a researcher, and she did a lot of research on shame.
Interesting.
Okay. And the shame being public shaming.
I
just
think about,
being
like,
embarrassed, in front of a team
my
member.
Protestant German family. I'm like, that was a tool.
Right?
Yeah.
When the shame response is a threat response. Why?
Feeling shame.
Feeling shame translated in your limbic system.
Is that also giving shame? Do you give shame when you feel threatened?
You can. Absolutely. That's an aggression response.
Yeah, right.
Why? This is important.
Yeah.
We are social creatures. We were meant to be in small bands and tribes.
Yeah.
And if you read back on Shakespeare and Bible stories, what was some of the worst punishment that
isolation
or
that seems like the worst to me.
Expulsion.
Oh yeah, well, same thing. Yeah.
Banished.
Right. Yeah.
Right? Romeo and Juliet.
You're banished. Get out of here.
Romeo gets banished.
Yeah.
The worst punishment.
Yeah.
Why?
Right.
Because we are meant to exist in community, in small tribes, families. Yes. We're not meant to be isolated, right?
Yeah.
So when we reject, another way of thinking about shame is that we are cutting off and we are isolating. We are rejecting somebody, their ideas, or their being, in the worst cases.
Yeah.
To our limbic brain, that's
torture.
No, it's actually a threat to existence.
Oh,
it's literally
it's existential.
It's existential.
Wow.
To the amygdala, that means you're going to die.
Wow.
That's where it goes.
Wow.
Physiologically speaking.
Yep.
In the worst cases, right? So the antidote to that, which Brene Brown talks about and does tons of research on, is empathy. So when we connect, when we can really understand someone else and do one step further, have compassion, which is the act of wishing or doing something for the well-being of somebody else. Even just wishing well-being is an act of compassion, right? That will undo or calm the limbic system.
Wow. Gosh, that's so interesting.
Right? Literally.
That's so interesting. It reminds me of, I'm a massive fan of Adam Grant and Give and Take. And there's all these, these studies about how the universal language across all cultures and all languages and all religions is giving, and how there's all these self-benefits to it. My God, it's also a way to literally reduce your stress. So it feels to me, and I think, this is why, again, with this intention of why people should not be jerks, I suppose. That's the underlying essence here, is we're all going to have experience with the threat response. We are going to receive it. And, we've talked about these lovely things where, when you feel Big Amy and her kind of like threat response coming in, and there's these psychosomatic experiences and symptoms, what can you do? What are these tools? Which I have that list written down. There's also the other side of it, which is you are going to give the threat response or put people in the threat response.
You might have to.
You might have to. Yeah. And then kind of question is, well, yeah, maybe even talk about that. Like, one, if you do it and you weren't intending for someone to get in that place, what do you do? And I'm trying to even imagine the scenario where this is the case. Are there times when you want to get someone in threat response?
Ideally, I don't think so.
Yeah, okay.
No.
Yeah. It's not a lot of utility.
None of us are our best creators, logical thinkers, problem solvers. under that
Okay,
response,
so the premise is,
right?
how do you make sure people don't get into this threat response place?
But when I say sometimes we have to make hard decisions.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, sometimes we really do. We have to change up our teams.
Yeah, it's hard.
And it's so hard, right? We have to let people go due to economic circumstances or market circumstances, whatever. Or this person was great at this stage, but at this next stage, they're not, because that's not where their area of genius is, right?
Yeah.
And so this is one of the main, I would say, areas of coaching that I tend to do with, as well as when we have co-founder misalignment.
Yeah.
Right? When you've got co-founders that are not seeing eye to eye on a strategy or how to do things, or even just the way they work, how they think.
Yeah.
That will produce a threat response for sure. And again, it is, I would say, one of the hardest parts of my profession, as well as the people that I'm serving, is in order to really become an amazing leader, you actually have to get uncomfortable. You have to be able to tolerate discomfort with knowing yourself, as well as in working with the discomfort of others.
God.
All right?
Yeah. That was so resonant to me. I feel like, if I reflect back on so many scenarios in my leadership career, I was conflict avoidant. And I think I conflated this concept that if you were seeking conflict, you had to be incendiary, which you don't, it turns out. So and this is something I've obviously learned a bit, which is you must be conflict seeking. You must be. If you don't solve those issues, you will fail.
Correct.
Or the chance is much higher.
Right.
But there's a way to go about seeking that conflict that isn't going to throw people into the glut of a threat response.
That's right. So we actually have to be willing to be uncomfortable. And that is so counterintuitive to how we're made up.
Totally.
But this is not how our nervous systems are wired, right? We want not to do that.
Despite the skinny jeans fad.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly, right? So coming back to what leaders really need to do, they have to actually lean in to the discomfort, to the thing that their nervous systems do not want to be doing, right?
Yeah.
So how do we do that?
Yeah.
How do we do that?
Yeah.
I guess I would love to hear, you learned this, Healey.
Yeah.
What did you learn?
Well, it ultimately what I had to do is I had to motivate myself to do it and tell myself why I needed to do it. And I realized that if you don't think long range enough, then it's impossible to see conflict because you're just trying to get through the next day. Where if you look 6, 9, 12, 24 months out and you realize, if I don't do this, it's like the whole pre-parade thing. Something bad will happen.
Right.
You feel much more motivated to do it.
Right. So what you've actually done is you've created for yourself a sense of control and some predictability in order to be able to do the hard things. So what leaders have to do is they've got to figure out ways, and there's multiple, we can talk about other ideas here, of how to regulate their nervous system while they're engaging in the discomforting thing.
Yes.
And the most important part to that would be, I'm not going to stay in this discomfort forever. It's not going to be ongoing. It's going to be short. You have to stay very present focused.
God, that's so true.
Right.
Yeah. Short. It's like it's like if you optimize for short-term pain or long-term pain. Short-term pain every time.
Well, part of regulating our nervous system is being able to stay very present focused, right? As well as being able to have distance from the thing that's hurting.
Yeah.
So monks do this. Meditators do this, where they're feeling the discomfort of their bodies when they're sitting for long periods of time.
Yeah.
But they're doing something in which they're distancing themselves. They're not dissociating. They're noticing from a vantage point that's of a distance.
Mm-hmm.
And that is one way to regulate the nervous system and to make it more palpable, if you will.
That's really good.
Right? So reminding yourself that I might feel discomfort today in this conversation that's going to be really hard, but I know that tomorrow I'm not going to feel this kind of discomfort.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Right?
Yeah, that's right. Another thing that I've done in the past is I'll think about the people who are depending on me to do this hard thing. So, you know, the most fundamental to me is like my family.
Yep.
Or my kids, my wife.
Yeah.
But I have, you know, I feel like when you become a CEO, it is a bit of a sacred oath to everyone who now trusts you to be at the helm.
Right.
And there's so many layers of that to make the right decision when they're not looking, and to take it seriously and to care about their well-being and the well-being of the company. But there becomes this moment that is hard until you go all the way, which is sometimes you have to realize that the hard thing has to be done, because otherwise the whole thing won't work, and you're doing a disservice to everyone counting on you to do that, which can include personnel changes, which can even include a RIF, which is a reduction in force, which is like, talk about the worst thing you ever have to do as a CEO. That's the worst. It guts you. You spend so much time, and then all of a sudden you have to do a layoff. But it's like, okay, well, either I don't do this RIF and we run out of money, and then everyone's out of a job in 3 months, or I do this RIF and, like, yes, it's very rough for the people that are, and you try to be high integrity and help them to find a job and give them recommendations and stuff.
Yes.
But the company lives on.
Right. So you're creating, what I'm hearing you say is that you're creating for yourself aspects of safety.
Yes.
For yourself to regulate so that you can lean into the discomfort.
That's exactly right.
And that's what you're doing.
Yeah.
That's literally what you're doing with your nervous system.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're doing that through ways of talking with yourself. You're doing that through incorporating your frontal lobe and thinking 5 steps ahead, right? You're problem solving. You're doing that by bringing yourself back to the present moment. And right, all of these things that we just discussed. And you've got to be able to do that, because the way you show up, as you last thing you said, because I'm going to be there for them and I'm going to give them good recommendations. Right? The way you show up is going to impact how they experience the hardship, and you can mitigate that whole experience from being threat to just being like a little negative emotional experience that's not that hard to move through. Right? And that's by you creating a very different context, by using your tone of your voice. Now we're going to get into polyvagal theory and Stephen Porges.
Let's do it. Yeah.
The vagus nerve, which is the longest nerve, it goes from our cranial and it innervates through our whole body, has a lot to do with our parasympathetic nervous system as well as the sympathetic, but it really can get the parasympathetic moving. So when you are able to modulate and create the context from which you're giving discomforting or hard, painful, stressful news or information, that is the part that you actually can make a little bit better, right? That you have control over.
Totally.
Right? And that you can, on the continuum, you can make it really bad. You can think of toxic bosses.
Oh, yeah.
Or you can make it less bad.
Yeah.
And that's all based on what you're doing with your delivery, your messaging, right? And how you're delivering.
Faith, this has been so profound. I've taken so many notes. I think about, like, not just the basic of understanding our brain and Big Amy and why that happens, and pattern recognition, and how getting into a threat response can then stop you from being able to really think your way through a problem. Talking about ways when you notice your somatic responses, you can kind of counteract those things and get yourself back to a place of kind of neutrality. We talked about how you make sure you don't elicit a threat response from other people. I mean, it's been so wonderful. I guess to close it out, maybe the most important question is this: let's say I'm an executive, I'm a founder, I've heard this, and I was like, okay, I now get why Faith is the most sought after executive coach. How do people find you? How do they get in touch?
Yeah.
How does it happen?
Yeah. They can do two things. They can go to my website, which is drfaithcohen.com, drfaithcohen.com.
I like that.
There they can actually email me.
Okay.
And then we can get in touch.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. Awesome.
I would love, if I can.
Yes.
Could I make a book recommendation?
Please.
To your
Would love.
audience?
Yeah.
And this is amazing that you could have this kind of writing in a neuroscience book. But this is Robert Sapolsky's Behave, which is hilarious. He is funny. And to be reading everything about our neuropsychology and our brains and our neurons. Behave. Robert Sapolsky.
I think of Austin Powers.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
I mean, it's actually fascinating and it's entertaining.
Okay, Behave. I love that. And then also you had mentioned Cube, which I thought was so great, of how to deliver bad news, creating context, understanding their world, brainstorming solutions, and ending with commitments. How do people learn more about Cube?
Yeah, they can go to neuberggore.com.
Okay.
NEUBERGGORE.com.
We'll put it in the description.
Yep. And it's all right there on that website.
Okay, amazing.
Yeah.
Faith, thank you so much. This is great.
Thank you. It's been fun.